The pounding on my garage door that morning felt less like a knock and more like a declaration of war. You ever get that sinking feeling where you just know before you even stand up who's on the other side, and you'd give anything not to deal with it? Well, that was me, coffee in hand already, regretting my life choices. Through the window, there was Patricia Dalton, our HOA president, face flushed, hair lacquered so hard it looked bulletproof, screaming at the top of her lungs about a stolen vehicle. And of course, right behind her stood her pride and joy, Tyler, arms folded, chin jutted out, wearing the kind of smug that only a teenager with too much free time and not enough sense can pull off. She was hollering for me to open the garage, insisting the police were already on their way, that I was hiding stolen property. I actually grinned at that part if she only knew. I set my cup down, clipped my badge to my belt, and chose to answer the front door instead. The look on Patricia's face when she saw me calm and collected was almost worth all the trouble that had come before, almost. But let me back up a second, because stories like this, they don't happen overnight. See, about 3 weeks earlier, I just moved into Riverside Heights. After 20 years of apartments and paper-thin walls, I'd finally bought my first place, a modest 3-bedroom, nothing flashy, just a solid house with a 2-car garage. Perfect, honestly, for a guy like me who just got promoted to chief of police, and even more perfect for my real pride and joy, a '69 Ford Mustang Boss 429 in grabber blue. That car, let me tell you, was more than just a car. It was 5 years' worth of knuckles busted and arguments with my old man who's gone now. It was our last project together. I hadn't even driven it a handful of times since moving in. But those times, let's just say heads turned. Most neighbors gave a nod or a smile except, well, not all of them. Patricia lived 4 houses down with her son Tyler, who from the very start made it known this was her kingdom. The first time I met her, she pressed a 3-inch binder into my hands labeled HOA Guidelines and Expectations, and chirped that my moving truck was parked 2 minutes over the time limit. "We run a tight ship here," she'd said, not even breaking a sweat in 90-degree heat. I just smiled, took the binder, kept my job to myself. No need for everyone to know the new guy was also the chief of police, right? I like my peace. That peace lasted about a week. I was in the garage detailing the Mustang when Tyler marched right up the driveway like he was entitled to the whole street. "Sweet ride," he said. Running a hand down the fender, didn't even ask. I moved his hand away, careful, trying not to sound like a jerk. "Just finished waxing that spot," I told him. His eyes lit up and I recognized the look. Kids who grow up getting everything they want, figuring one more thing won't hurt. "You should let me take it for a spin," he said, all casual, like it was the most natural thing in the world. "Just got my license." Now, I nearly laughed a kid with a month of driving experience behind the wheel of a 400 horsepower muscle car. Not a chance. I told him no. Politely, and Tyler's face shifted. "My dad pays a lot in HOA fees," he snapped, "so technically, I kind of own part of this street." I honestly had to bite my tongue not to laugh. "That's not how property works, son," I said, but he just muttered something about seeing for himself and stalked off. Not 20 minutes later, Patricia was at my door in what I can only call her battle outfit. Pressed white pants, blazer, HOA pin, glinting heels, stabbing the porch with every step. "My son says you were rude to him." I told her the truth. He wanted to drive my car. I said no. "Tyler's a responsible young man," she shot back. "When he's interested in something, it's only neighborly to accommodate him. We're a community." I held my ground. "Ma'am, that car's worth more than most folks' annual salary. I don't let anyone drive it." She sniffed. "Well, we'll have to see if it even complies with HOA rules. I'll be reviewing tonight." And review she did. Over the next week, I got notice after notice in my mailbox. Too loud, she claimed, though she'd never heard it running. Too bright might distract drivers. My personal favorite, the Mustang, could be considered a commercial vehicle because it might possibly be raced. Each time I responded patiently, quoting the actual bylaws that proved none of it held water. That just made her angrier. Then came Tyler again, this time with 2 friends. I was mowing the lawn when they swaggered up. Maybe just a quick ride around the block. Tyler asked, all smiles. Still no. I told him. One of his friends, bigger kid, pushed forward. "Don't be such a hard ass." What's it gonna hurt? I used my cop voice, told them to go home. They did, but Tyler gave me a look one that said he wasn't done yet. Sure enough, Patricia showed up with her husband Richard, a tax attorney, who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. "You threatened my son," she shrieked. And his friends. Richard, I'd Googled, hadn't seen the inside of a courtroom in years, and he just stood there wincing. "Ma'am," I said, "I asked them to leave my property. That's my right." "We'll see what the HOA says," Patricia barked, spinning away. Richard gave a sheepish shrug. Apparently, the next HOA meeting was a circus. My neighbor Janet filled me in later. Patricia spent 40 minutes talking about the dangerous element I'd brought, complete with a PowerPoint about street racing. She called me a hooligan, Janet said, even though the only folks making trouble were Patricia and her own son. The harassment didn't stop. Notes on my windshield garbage cans tipped over. Someone even called in a city complaint about my grass. Then one Saturday morning it all came to a head. I was in the kitchen with my coffee when I heard voices outside. Tyler and his friends, again this time taking selfies through my garage window. I stepped outside, told them to leave. Tyler shot back, "It's just for Instagram, bro. My followers love sick rides. I told him to get off my property or I'd call the police." "Go ahead," he said. "My mom already did. She says you stole that car." Now, I'll admit, the registration was still in my dad's name, just hadn't finished the paperwork. Patricia had found that and decided it was her chance. "The cops are going to impound it," Tyler crowed, "and maybe someone who deserves it can buy it at auction." That's when the sirens hit. 3 patrol cars, lights blazing, roaring down our quiet street. Patricia came running out, waving her phone. "Officers," she yelled. "He's right there, the thief." I recognized the officers right away. "Martinez, Davidson, Thompson, and Rookie Patel." The look on Martinez's face when he saw me, absolutely priceless. "Chief Morrison," he stammered. Patricia's jaw hit the porch. "Chief, what do you mean, Chief?" Davidson explained, keeping it as professional as he could. "Ma'am, this is Chief Morrison, our boss." All the color drained from Patricia's face. Tyler looked like he wanted to disappear. Even Richard, who had just arrived, stared at the ground. Patricia started babbling about the car's registration. I calmly explained, yes, the car was in my father's name. He'd passed 6 months ago. I was the heir, and I could show the will and death certificate if they wanted. Patricia literally started shaking. I turned to Martinez and said, "I'd like you to take a report." This woman called 911, made a false stolen vehicle report, and has been harassing me for weeks because I wouldn't let her son drive my car. Martinez just nodded, started writing. Patricia tried to backtrack, but it was too late. Thompson switched on his body cam and asked Tyler if he was involved. Tyler, still puffed up in front of his friends, made the mistake of mouthing off, "Yeah, so what? He's been a dick since he moved in. My mom runs this place. She could buy and sell you." Patel glanced at me, rookie nerves. I nodded for him to keep recording. Pretty soon the whole neighborhood was outside rubbernecking, watching the spectacle. Patricia got cited for a false report and misuse of emergency services. Tyler was warned for trespassing and harassment. The whole thing was caught on 3 different body cams. Patricia shrieked about keeping the neighborhood safe. I told her, "You weaponized the police because your son wanted my car. That's not keeping anyone safe." Richard finally found his courage and hustled them home. Janet came over after the patrol cars left. "Well, that was a show," she grinned. "You're not done yet." Patricia called an emergency HOA meeting for tomorrow. I bet she won't be president much longer. And you know what? She was right. Body cam footage went public in days. Someone I still don't know who posted it online, and it exploded. Entitled, "HOA President Calls Cops on Police Chief," made the rounds. Tyler's rant became a meme. At the emergency meeting, neighbors who'd suffered under Patricia finally spoke up, story after story of her pettiness and abuse of power. The vote was unanimous. Patricia was ousted on the spot. As she left, she tried to make one last threat. "You'll all regret this. I made this neighborhood what it is." Janet stood up and shot back, "No, you made it a dictatorship. Now we can make it a community." Richard stayed to apologize and mentioned they'd be putting their house up for sale. Patricia got a $1,000 fine and 50 hours community service for the false report. In court, the judge was having none of her concerned citizen excuse he laid into her about wasting police resources, tacked on even more fines, and told her she was lucky not to see jail time. Patricia walked out of that courthouse a shell of the tyrant she'd been. Riverside Heights breathed a little easier that night. But funny thing, once people like her lose their power, they don't just disappear. There's always another Patricia somewhere waiting for their moment. Maybe next time it'll be your neighborhood. What would you have done in my shoes? Was justice served, or did it go too far? Drop your thoughts below. Let's see where you stand on HOA power trips and community justice.